In 25, before China had even entered its official flood season in July, disaster was already sweeping across the nation. From the smoky industrial belts of the north to the farmlands of the south, unrelenting rains merged with swollen rivers, turning what should have been routine monsoon challenges into a nationwide nightmare. The waters didn't burst in a single wave. They crept forward day after day, tightening their grip until whole provinces were drowning. By July 4th, Chinese officials admitted that 329 rivers had surged past the danger line. But behind this statistic lies a far darker truth. This crisis is not simply nature's wrath. It's the result of human arrogance. And at the very heart of it stands the most controversial symbol of modern China, the Three Gorges Dam. Once glorified as the Communist Party's ultimate triumph of engineering, the dam is now seen as its Achilles heel. When it was inaugurated in 2003, state media boasted that it could withstand a once-in-a-thousand-year flood. Later, that promise was quietly downgraded to once in a century. Now, as red alerts blare across central China, even that watered-down claim sounds like a cruel joke. The cracks in the illusion, both metaphorical and real, are widening. To ease the strain, authorities unleashed up to 11 floodgates, dumping 44,000 cubic meters of water every second, an amount that could submerge Hangzhou's West Lake countless times. Officials framed it as a necessary move. Locals called it what it truly was: state-orchestrated flooding. In reality, Beijing chose to shield upstream industrial hubs and sacrifice downstream villages. Politics won, ordinary people lost everything. Dr. Wang Weilu, a hydraulic engineer once tied to the project, has long blown the whistle. According to him, flood control was never the dam's true purpose. It was a business scheme, hydropower profits for elites on China's east coast. Experts recommended lowering reservoir levels before monsoon rains. Instead, the reservoir was filled to the brim, wiping away its safety margin. When the downpours arrived, panic followed, and the floodgates were forced open. Wang calls this a gray rhino, a disaster that everyone sees but leaders refuse to face. And the problem doesn't end with one mega dam. China hosts nearly 100,000 reservoirs, many built decades ago, now decaying and unstable. Sudden midnight discharges have become routine, erasing villages under cover of darkness, with no accountability. And still, the propaganda machine can't hide everything. The dam itself is showing alarming signs of stress. Beijing concedes there have been minor shifts. Independent researchers suggest far worse: cracks under pressure, growing seismic risks, and rising instability. Earthquakes in areas surrounding the dam have multiplied more than 30-fold since the reservoir was filled. Even NASA pointed out a chilling fact: the dam's immense weight has actually slowed Earth's rotation. This is more than flawed engineering. It is a tragedy carved into concrete. To make way for the project, 1.3 million people were forced from their homes, the largest relocation ever caused by a single construction. 13 cities, 140 towns, and 1,300 villages vanished underwater. Priceless heritage sites were lost forever. While displaced families sank into poverty, the real gains flowed to coastal giants like Shanghai. China's dam history makes the danger even starker. In 1975, the Banqiao Dam collapse, kept secret for years, claimed an estimated 230,000 lives. The wounds still haunt survivors. Now experts warn, if the Three Gorges Dam falters, through poor management, or collapse, or an unstoppable storm, the result will not only be catastrophic flooding, it could also deliver a mortal blow to the Communist Party's grip on power itself. Michael Oslin of the Hoover Institution didn't mince words. If the Three Gorges Dam fails, it could shatter the regime itself. For decades, the Chinese Communist Party wrapped its image of control and modern progress around this single structure. But if it cracks, physically or symbolically, it could trigger a domino effect of chaos that nothing can stop. Warning lights are already flashing. On June 29th, the Sichuan Basin was hammered by torrential downpours. By late evening, the Zaipingpu Reservoir outside Chengdu began spilling water to relieve the pressure. Within days, the provincial capital was sinking beneath rising floods. By July 3rd, entire districts were submerged. The disaster clock isn't slowing down, it's speeding up. As the Yangtze River swells, it's not just testing the strength of concrete, It's testing the survival of a political empire that promised stability above all else. The Three Gorges Dam was built as mankind's victory over nature. Today it stands exposed as the CCP's weakest point. The question is no longer if this system will crack. The only question left is when and what destruction will follow in its wake. China underwater. Silence from Beijing as the dam reaches breaking point. Throughout June and July 2025, wave after wave of extreme weather smashed China, leaving devastation from one end of the country to the other. In Rongjiang County, Guizhou, families barely recovered from a flood on June 24th before another disaster struck on June 28th. Emergency workers rushed in, but locals said it was the worst flooding they had endured in 30 years. In Hubei, catastrophe came at night. Between June 30 and July 1st, a flash flood swallowed Xianfeng County in minutes. Whole neighborhoods disappeared underwater before people could escape. In Henan's Taiping town on July 3rd, a river suddenly rose and engulfed a highway in less than 3 minutes. In Hunan, the nightmare began as early as June 18th, tearing through towns like Badagongshan and Longshan. More than 400,000 were affected and nearly 100,000 forced to evacuate. Then, on July 12th, Hangzhou's iconic West Lake saw one of the heaviest downpours in modern memory. But the most chilling moment came on July 15th. At 2 a.m., a deadly cloudburst struck Jinzhou village in Lijiang. And behind closed doors, officials quietly ordered reservoirs to discharge water, not to save lives, but to sacrifice less important areas for the sake of key cities. The truth surfaced after a cold announcement from Xinhua on June 27th. The state would deliberately divert floodwaters into designated sacrifice zones. Not long after, the Tuokou hydropower plant flung open 7 gates at once. The Yuan River roared straight into Rongjiang County. No siren, no alert, no time to prepare. Videos flooding Chinese social media confirmed the worst suspicion. This was not a natural disaster. It was state-engineered destruction, and the nightmare escalated. On June 30th at 6 p.m., massive surges from the Min and Jinsha rivers combined and rushed toward Yibin City in Sichuan. By July 2nd, the Three Gorges Reservoir had risen to 152.87 meters, 7 meters above its official danger line. Water was pouring in at 30,000 cubic meters per second, while only 20,400 were being released. The level was rising too fast, far beyond safe margins. By July 7th, the water had climbed past the 171-meter red line and was nearing the structural ceiling of 175 meters. That's when panic struck Beijing. At 6:37 p.m. and on July 7th, GPI News dropped the bombshell. China's top leadership was in full-blown crisis mode. Multiple emergency meetings were held inside Zhongnanhai. Their decision? Prevent the dam's failure at all costs. A nationwide red alert was issued. The military, engineering corps, and armed police were deployed. The Southern Theater Command was ordered to high alert. Troops were positioned around the dam, bracing for the worst. Engineers began emergency discharges, which one expert described as controlled destruction, choosing how to collapse instead of waiting for it to happen. But every ton of water unleashed meant another city downstream was doomed. Yichang, Wuhan, Nanjing, all were forced into emergency response. The state had made its choice: protect the dam, even if it meant drowning its own people. As the waters kept rising, Beijing gave the people little more than silence. At a rare state council briefing, Deputy Water Resources Minister Chen Min admitted the scale of the crisis. 329 rivers across China had burst past warning levels. But beyond that single admission, the nation's top leaders vanished from sight, leaving the public to face disaster alone. One of the most chilling examples came in Shanfeng County, Enshi City, Hubei Province. Floods tore through the area in the dead of night, without a single warning. By the time officials issued a red alert at 6 a.m., the devastation had already struck. Within just 12 hours, the county was buried under 342 millimeters of rainfall, obliterating every record in history. Yet, when the storm ended, the government's first move wasn't rescue. It was censorship. Authorities claimed that 18,000 residents had been evacuated safely and insisted that there were no deaths. But witnesses told another story. A man surnamed Huang reported that at least 2 people had perished inside the romantic castle apartment complex. Several more were critically injured. The real death toll? hidden, just like the truth. For millions across China, the disaster is no longer just about rising rivers and collapsing homes. It is about betrayal. Every floodgate opened upstream, every fact erased from the news, leaves one haunting question in the minds of ordinary citizens. When survival itself is sacrificed for politics,
urgent flood discharge measures are being taken to save the Three Gorges Dam. Floods in southern China have hit various provinces one after another. After the daunting lake incident in Hunan, pressure has been mounting on the Three Gorges Dam. Heavy rainstorms have battered Chongqing and Dazhou, Sichuan, China for days, causing floods in 15 rivers, including the Jialing River. Rivers have risen and towns have been inundated. The Yangtze River has experienced its second peak this year. Rainfall in Chongqing's Zhang County exceeded 254 millimeters in 9 hours, setting a record high since local meteorological records began. Water levels as deep as 2 meters caused landslides that killed at least 6 people. The Three Gorges Dam, which is the biggest fear of the people, has also begun releasing floodwaters. The water level of the Three Gorges Reservoir is more than 15 meters higher than the same period last year, setting a new high. The Three Gorges Dam initially opened 3 sluice gates, then a 4th sluice gate was opened. Up to 9 sluice gates are currently open to manage flooding upstream. Chinese media, the South China Morning Post, reported that the Three Gorges Dam is on flood alert as rain hits the major city of Chongqing. International media also reported that the Three Gorges Dam is on alert as heavy rain and flooding have killed 6 people in China. Many videos have appeared on various platforms showing that a large dam along the Three Gorges Dam has broken, causing flooding in Chongqing and submerging the entire area. Furthermore, heavy rain in recent days has caused severe flooding in central and southern China. Local people are severely affected as we enter a critical flood control period. Flooding is likely to occur in all 7 major river basins in China. 31 rivers in Anhui, Henan, Yunnan, Sichuan, Chongqing, Hubei, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Jilin, and other places have suffered floods above the warning level. At present, the 3 provinces of Anhui, Jiangxi, and Hunan have entered a Level 3 flood control emergency response. 5 provinces and cities, Heilongjiang, Jiangsu, Hubei, Chongqing, and Sichuan, have entered a Level 4 flood emergency response. The rain continues to pour, and the pressure on a series of dam systems is stronger than ever. Under the pressure of water, either the dams break or are forced to release floodwaters to save the dams. Large and small dams are releasing water, and billions of cubic meters of water are being released. We can easily imagine how severe the floods will be and how great the damage will be, right? The serious flood problem in China shows no signs of abating and seems to worsen each year. The damage caused each year is always higher than the previous year. This suggests that China's dam system is not really effective in dealing with floods. Now, the ongoing rain and flood situation continues to increase pressure on the Three Gorges Dam, which has been continuously warned. Experts at home and abroad have begun to discuss the fate of this dam. Some people say that the media has been talking about the Three Gorges Dam breaking for many years, but it is not broken yet. Technically, the Three Gorges Dam is a gravity dam. This type of dam stability mainly depends on its own weight to resist the water pressure behind it. The Three Gorges Dam is built of reinforced concrete, about 185 meters high and about 2.3 kilometers long, with a giant reservoir capacity of 39.3 billion m. The characteristic of a gravity dam is that the weight of the dam helps it stand firm against the buoyancy of the water. Gravity dams are often triangular in shape with a wide base to increase stability and resist water pressure. Thanks to their large weight and geometric design, gravity dams are very stable and can resist the forces of strong water currents. This type of dam is highly durable and less susceptible to damage over time. The Three Gorges Dam is a classic example of a gravity dam, which uses its own weight to counteract the pressure of water. There is a reason why China has not broken the dam over the years, despite the many floods. Can the Three Gorges Dam be broken? Military experts say that it can be easily destroyed by blowing up the Three Gorges Dam. In fact, the dam is not something that can be blown up easily. Why do they say that? There are 3 main factors. First, the Three Gorges Dam is so powerful that only earthquakes of magnitude 10 or higher can cause significant damage to it. To actually destroy the Three Gorges Dam, one would have to use 66 little boy nuclear bombs, a fission bomb that uses uranium-235, and all of them would have to attack at the same time, which is very difficult. Second, China's air defense system is also very strong. Not only are anti-aircraft missiles deployed along the border and air defense positions around the Three Gorges Dam, but there are also 12 divisions stationed along the perimeter of the dam. Hundreds of anti-aircraft missiles and countless radar bases are always on standby, and fighter jets patrol the skies 24 hours a day. Any unidentified flying object that enters the area will be shot down without mercy. The last and most important factor is that China has the Dongfeng 41 intercontinental ballistic missile, which is extremely accurate and crucial to the mission of protecting the dam. It has the ability to bomb quickly and accurately across the globe, and once someone starts attacking, they will certainly be an unmissable target. These factors have led many to believe that the dam is indestructible by military means. So how can the dam fail? It is a natural disaster. Although the Three Gorges Dam was designed to control floods, heavy rains and unusual floods can put enormous pressure on the dam. Not to mention that the area around the Three Gorges Dam is seismically active, and strong earthquakes can cause serious damage to the dam structure. Another factor is that the Three Gorges Dam blocks alluvium from upstream, causing accumulation in the reservoir. If floods and landslides occur, the reservoir cannot support the large amount of rock and soil that flows in. The water in the reservoir must continue to be retained and cannot escape so that the strong current can wash away the rock and soil from the reservoir area. The Three Gorges Dam was completed in 2009, and over a long period of time with continuous flooding in recent years, cracks and damage are also present and spreading. Although there are measures to fix it, it is only temporary and cannot prevent the flood from rising more and more along with the amount of rock and soil stagnating in the reservoir. It is not impossible that there is no way to control the Three Gorges Dam situation anymore. Major floods and landslides can destroy the dam or cause it to fail. Once that happens, the consequences will be extremely serious. China's project of the century may be completely destroyed. The entire central and South China region will be severely affected. Many localities downstream of the Yangtze River, such as Chongqing, Wuhan, and many other cities, will be submerged in water. Millions of people will be directly and indirectly affected. Hundreds of thousands of people will die, and millions of people will be displaced. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an extremely painful scene and no one wants it to happen. China will face an unprecedented disaster in its history. Chinese media have been reporting on the continued discharge of water from the Three Gorges Reservoir in China over the past few days. The news agencies only published images, but did not provide specific details on the current water level and the reservoir's capacity to withstand it. When the water level in a reservoir exceeds the safety threshold, water discharge becomes necessary to prevent the risk of dam overflow, ensuring the safety of the dam structure and surrounding areas. Water discharge helps maintain flow control and reduce pressure on the dam, avoiding dangerous overload. It is often carried out during heavy rainfall or prolonged storms, causing the water level in the reservoir to increase rapidly. Water discharge can signal a flood forecast in downstream areas, prompting the implementation of timely preventive measures to minimize damage. Continued discharge from the Three Gorges Dam has caused severe flooding in downstream areas, inundating houses and infrastructure, and causing heavy loss of life and property. Floods have inundated large areas of farmland, damaging crops and causing significant harm to the agricultural sector. The record-breaking, devastating rains have put China's Three Gorges Dam under significant strain and on high alert. Authorities are scrambling to contain the flooding by opening more sluice gates, but nature's wrath is not over yet. Weather satellite data shows that in the wake of Typhoon Praparun, a Category 4 storm called Kemi is rapidly intensifying over the Pacific Ocean. Particularly heavy rain bands are swirling inward into a dense eye wall. The storm, which is moving at 220 kilometers per hour, is expected to make landfall in southeastern China this week after passing Taiwan, raising concerns that its remnants will spill upstream of the dam and worsen the flooding situation. Typhoon Kemi approaches the coast of Fujian, more than 10 provinces in China will be affected. After hitting Taiwan, Typhoon Kemi approached the coast of Fujian, China on the 25th. China's meteorological authorities estimate that Typhoon Kemi will move towards Jiangxi province after landing in Fujian, and some areas of Jiangxi will experience heavy rain or even very heavy rain. Additionally, the water level of Poying Lake is still above the warning line, attracting attention to the flood control situation. Large-scale heavy rain will affect more than 10 provinces in China. The Three Gorges Dam can be considered the pride, symbol of power, and also the Achilles' heel of China. Flood developments are constantly putting pressure on this dam. Let's wait and see what its fate will be in the following days. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next videos. Have a nice day and see you again. Risk if the Three Gorges Dam breaks. Strategic and densely populated areas are vulnerable.
If the Three Gorges Dam collapses, the annual water flow of the Yellow River would be concentrated in that area. It would become the Yellow River for a whole year. Descending at a speed of 147 meters per second, this water could reach Nanjing within a day. In a day, it might even destroy Nanjing, affecting approximately 600 million people along the Yangtze River, which contributes more than half of China's GDP. This strategic and populous area is vulnerable. The complete destruction would undoubtedly lead to a catastrophic event. Currently, both China and the world are highly concerned about the safety of the Three Gorges Dam. If anyone questioned the safety of the Three Gorges Dam before, China would vehemently deny any issues, insisting that there was no problem. However, they now acknowledge that the water level has exceeded the flood control line by 2 meters. They are urging quick discharge of water. But it's a dilemma since both upstream and downstream areas are already flooded. If the water from the Three Gorges Dam is released, the situation downstream could worsen. If they block the water, the flooding continues. The most challenging aspect of the Three Gorges Dam is that both upstream and downstream areas are flooded, and the dam bears the pressure of flooding from both directions. Some analysts have assessed that if the Three Gorges Dam were to have a catastrophic failure, it would wash away directly. Nanjing would be devastated, and the impact could extend to Shanghai. In short, when discussing the safety of the Three Gorges Dam, China always asserted that there were no issues. However, now with both upstream and downstream areas flooded simultaneously, the situation has changed. Downstream, they claim that the water level is comparable to the second highest flood in 1998. So, the water level downstream is already very high. Upstream, heavy rainfall continues, making it impossible for the Three Gorges Dam to discharge water. Thus, we find ourselves in a situation where the flood control line is exceeded by 2 meters. Looking at the photo, Xi Jinping appears very concerned. Currently, his most significant concern is not the US-China trade war or the Beijing pandemic but the issue with the Three Gorges Dam.
On the second day of the National Day holiday, hundreds of drones carrying fireworks launched into the night sky at a scenic spot along the Liuyang River in Hunan. The fireworks, like falling meteors, struck tourists and accidentally ignited nearby forests due to falling sparks. Officials claimed the fire was extinguished within minutes, sparking doubts among netizens. On the evening of October 2nd, hundreds of drones carrying fireworks suddenly misfired during a display in the sky above Liuyang, Hunan. Fireworks rained down from the sky like a torrential downpour, igniting nearby forests and causing wildfires. Video footage showed spectators screaming in panic and fleeing, with some even struck by falling fireworks. Jimu News reported that on the evening of October 2nd, hundreds of drones took off into the sky at a scenic spot along the Liuyang River in Hunan. setting off dazzling displays of fireworks that drew gasps of astonishment from spectators along the riverbank. However, this meticulously choreographed spectacle in the night sky accidentally ignited nearby forests. That evening, the Luyang Riverside area was already packed with eager crowds, tightly clustered with visitors. With a gentle hum, hundreds of drones rose in unison into the night sky. As tourists marveled at the spectacle, some falling fireworks ignited the forest. Someone in the crowd cried out, "Varsa's the fire line on the hillside became clearly visible in the night." The scenic area management told Huasheng Daily's Dafeng News on the 3rd that the fire was not large. On-site security and staff immediately discovered the danger. The burned area primarily consisted of surface vegetation, and emergency plans were immediately activated, extinguishing the blaze in a short time. Cover News reported that an accident occurred during a fireworks show in Luyang, Hunan, sending sparks cascading and igniting trees. A staff member from the Guangkou Town Subdistrict office in Luyang City said, "There were no casualties. The fire was put out in minutes." In response, many mainland Chinese netizens questioned, "Out in minutes? Who would believe that? Who can come forward with their real names and say it was out in minutes?" That's great. The embezzled public funds have finally been found. Now they can defraud state funds. Just take a photo and apply for it. This is the actual situation in the local area. This scene is not a good sign. For the sake of money and traffic, as long as they agree to set fire to the mountain, it's fine. We don't allow it, but you can do whatever you want. Such a large fire was put out in minutes, eliminating the impact. The expert guidance was spot on. Hunan's mainstream media won't report it. Whose leader came up with the idea of using drones to fire fireworks downwards? It's causing so much harm. On the second day of the National Day holiday, a fire broke out in Huangxing Park in Shanghai. According to Sina.com, at 11:25 a.m. on October 2nd, several citizens reported that a large amount of black smoke was billowing near Yingku Road and Jiamusi Road in Yangpu District, Shanghai, and that a suspected fire was occurring in Huangxing Park. Firefighters rushed to the scene to extinguish the fire, fortunately resulting in no casualties. According to eyewitnesses, the fire started in the southeast corner of Huangxing Park, near Jiamusi Road. After the fire erupted, it spread rapidly with continuous banging sounds emanating from the scene. Passers-by, residents of nearby high-rise buildings, and private drivers traveling through the area all observed plumes of smoke. October 1st marked the 76th National Day of Mourning observed by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. The people of Guangxi are also suffering from flooding. Typhoon Beluoyi, the 20th typhoon of the year, caused 26 rivers in Guangxi to exceed warning levels. Flooding devastated Beizi and other areas, with floodwaters reaching up to the second floor in some places and completely submerging houses. Local residents cried out for help online, suspecting officials were suppressing information and downplaying the severity of the disaster on this sensitive day. Some netizens commented that the CCP's National Day of Mourning is indeed unlucky for ordinary people. Mid-Autumn Festival tragedy. How many Falun Gong families have been broken? As the Mid-Autumn Festival approaches, many Falun Gong practitioners remain imprisoned across China. Among them are elderly individuals who should be with their families during the holiday. Instead, many are separated, leaving their loved ones to endure the pain of broken families. Minghui.org reports that Falun Gong is a spiritual practice centered on the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Since its introduction, it has spread to more than 100 countries and benefited people worldwide. However, in July 1999, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, launched a nationwide campaign against Falun Gong, which has lasted for more than 2 decades. Reports indicate that thousands of practitioners have lost their lives due to mistreatment, and many more have been detained or suffered severe hardships. For example, practitioner Li Kaolian, a 70-year-old woman from Gansu province, passed away in prison in September 2025 after years of repeated arrests and sentences. Her family had repeatedly appealed for medical release, but were denied until it was too late. Another case is Xu Wenlong, a 39-year-old graduate of the Central Academy of Fine Arts in Beijing. Classmates recall him as honest and kind. He was arrested in 2023 and remains imprisoned, enduring extremely difficult living conditions. Liu Xuekan, a 90-year-old man from Shandong, was sentenced along with his wife in June 2024. Both are elderly, yet they were imprisoned separately. leaving their family torn apart during what should be a time of reunion. Other practitioners such as Ho Lijun, Lin Jianping, Ma Junting, and Luo Wenbin have also faced repeated imprisonment and severe restrictions. Their families continue to suffer uncertainty, waiting for their return. These stories highlight the ongoing human rights concerns surrounding Falun Gong in China. Behind each case is a family unable to reunite, a parent unable to see their children, or elderly parents spending their final years apart from loved ones. As the Mid-Autumn Festival, a holiday meant for reunion, approaches, countless families remain broken. A Beijing man exclaimed during a visit to Taiwan, "They're truly civilized, truly prosperous, and truly live with dignity." A Beijing man went viral after returning from Taiwan, exclaiming, "They are truly civilized, truly prosperous, and truly live with dignity." He said his heart, clouded for decades, was finally cleansed after seeing that Taiwanese people live without fear over medical care, children's education, or pensions. He described Taiwan as eye-opening. At the airport, he was struck by how spotless the restroom was, cleaner than my own living room. A taxi driver welcomed him warmly, even showing him Taipei's night view without charging extra. At his B&B, the landlady brought homemade food and treats every day, refusing any payment, yet she was just an ordinary office worker living a secure, fulfilling life. In the countryside, villages were cleaner than cities, and even a 70-year-old farmer could live with dignity on pensions and farm income. At a night market, stall owners and fruit vendors showed him kindness with small gestures that moved him to tears. These moments, he said, reminded him of the lost warmth of old Beijing hutongs. Returning home, he told friends, "This trip was worth it. Taiwan showed me dignity, prosperity, and a civilization I had only heard of but never truly believed in." Another mainland tourist, a former CCTV employee, was shocked when he could freely walk into Taipei City Hall and eat in its cafeteria for 90 new Taiwan dollars. In China, he said, government buildings are heavily restricted and cafeterias are closed to ordinary people. The simple openness of Taipei's government, he said, showed me what it truly means to serve the people. When a Shanghai influencer reposted this video on Weibo, he was swiftly banned for 15 days, fueling more public doubts. Netizens responded with biting comments. "This is why travel to Taiwan is restricted. Comparison exposes the truth." A Shenzhen Little Pink lamented after her trip to Taiwan, "They have votes, we have stability maintenance." According to a video circulating online, a mainland Chinese female graduate student known as a Little Pink compared Taiwan and Shenzhen after her trip to Taiwan. She realized that China was far inferior to Taiwan and that unification was a joke. However, her video was immediately deleted. In the video, a Shenzhen woman who claimed to have been a Little Pink 3 months earlier said, "I'm absolutely devastated." She explained, "In the 3 months since I returned from Taiwan, I've been sending out resumes and interviewing every day, and I can't even find a job that pays 6,000 yuan." She said she graduated from a top-tier university with a CET 6 English score. 3 years ago, her parents had high hopes for her and sent her there. "Who could have imagined that after graduation, I'd be competing for jobs with high school graduates?" She recalled chatting in Taipei with a woman from National Taiwan University who worked at a semiconductor company. The woman explained that she earned over 40,000 new Taiwan dollars a month, approximately 9,000 Chinese yuan, was fully covered by 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund, and received annual special leave. She had a stable job and had been making mortgage payments on her house for over a year. "Hearing that, I couldn't hold back my tears," the Shenzhen girl said. "We're both in our 20s, yet she's already saving for her future, while I can't even find a decent job." She lamented, "It's true that apart from using Chinese, Taiwan and China today have almost nothing in common. They have votes, we have stability maintenance, they have free internet, while we must circumvent the Great Firewall. They're dedicated to public welfare while we're meticulously self-interested. How can we possibly be from the same nation?"
China's shattered military dream. From submarine disasters to political earthquakes. For years, Beijing has projected the image of an unstoppable military force. Billions of dollars have been poured into nuclear submarines, massive warships, stealth aircraft, and cutting-edge missile systems, all wrapped in a narrative of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Propaganda painted a picture of a navy that could challenge the United States across the Pacific, and an army prepared to reclaim lost territories. Yet behind the stage-managed parades and flashy exercises, cracks have widened into fissures. What was meant to be a story of military rise has instead turned into one of costly failures, absurd scandals, and mounting internal crises. The collapse of China's naval ambitions is perhaps the most striking symbol of this unraveling. Beijing invested over $100 billion in its nuclear-powered submarine program, convinced that these stealthy predators would guarantee strategic advantage. But the United States, through a combination of intelligence leaks and relentless surveillance, managed to map the acoustic signatures of China's prized Type 93 submarines. An acoustic signature, often described as an underwater fingerprint, is unique to each class of submarine and enables detection anywhere in the world's oceans. With this revelation, every vessel that Beijing once hoped could disappear into the depths became trackable in real time. The humiliation grew worse when one of these submarines ran aground on an underwater barrier in the Yellow Sea, a barrier ironically installed by the Chinese Navy itself. Divers scrambled to cut through the obstruction, but their efforts attracted American surveillance aircraft and satellites. From that moment, Washington acquired detailed imagery of the submarine's structure, displacement, propulsion, and missile system. The invisible hunters of the deep were suddenly exposed, their strategic utility largely nullified. For Beijing, it meant decades of investment and national pride transformed into little more than scrap metal. Espionage scandals deepened the damage. In a case that would seem laughable if it were not so consequential, a senior Chinese scientist wagered state secrets in a soccer bet. What began as a reckless gamble ended with the betrayal of technologies central to Beijing's military modernization. Laser communication systems linking submarines and satellites, electromagnetic catapult systems for aircraft carriers, and radar-absorbing stealth materials used on fighter jets like the J-20. American engineers swiftly incorporated this intelligence, upgrading detection systems and devising countermeasures. China's stealth aircraft, once promoted as symbols of parity with the United States, were rendered far less threatening. The scandal underscored the fragility of a system where loyalty could be compromised by something as trivial as a gambling addiction. Even when espionage is set aside, the technological foundations of China's naval power remain shaky. Many of its propulsion systems and stealth technologies are copied from foreign designs, often acquired through cyber theft or industrial espionage, but poorly reverse-engineered. The result is a fleet riddled with technical flaws. Some submarines, after years of service, log only 1,000 nautical miles annually. Pitiful numbers compared to global standards. Living conditions aboard are so dire that crews frequently suffer from malnutrition, fatigue, and psychological breakdowns. The tragedy reached its peak in August 2023, when a Shang-class submarine accident claimed the lives of 55 officers and sailors suffocated inside their vessel. Far from inspiring confidence, these incidents reveal a force that is overstretched and brittle. Meanwhile, Beijing trumpets the capabilities of its surface fleet, particularly the Type 55 destroyer. Hailed as a flagship vessel with a displacement of 10,000 tons and 112 vertical launch cells. Yet analysts note that nearly 80 of those cells are reserved for defensive anti-air missiles, leaving limited capacity for offensive strikes. The radar, despite grand claims, can detect low-flying aircraft only within 40 kilometers, dropping to 20 under real combat conditions. In a high-intensity conflict, the Type 55 would spend most of its energy fending off incoming threats, while remaining vulnerable to stealth fighters and precision missiles. A single well-placed strike could ignite internal explosions and sink the ship. The propaganda image of an invincible behemoth collapses under closer examination. When technology falters, quantity often fills the void. Lacking sufficient amphibious assault ships, Beijing has sought to repurpose commercial ferries as military transports. These vessels, designed for cargo and passengers, are structurally incapable of withstanding modern warfare. They lack armor, electronic countermeasures, and defensive systems, making them floating coffins in the event of missile or submarine attacks. Yet Beijing insists on rehearsing with them, as if sheer numbers could overcome physics and firepower. Military analysts widely dismiss this tactic as reckless, a strategy that treats soldiers as expendable rather than as assets to be protected. The hollowness of China's military might is nowhere more evident than in its exercises. To outside observers, grand drills across the South China Sea or near Taiwan suggest formidable readiness. But insider accounts reveal bureaucratic absurdities that turn these operations into farce. In one exercise, commanders, terrified of being punished for losing equipment, loaded every rifle and bullet into a single truck. When the truck was ambushed, the entire unit was declared defeated before firing a shot. In another drill, defenders invested heavily in cameras, guards, and reinforcements, but overlooked drainage ditches that enemy troops used to infiltrate. Instead of aircraft, the attackers destroyed fuel trucks, grounding the entire air wing for 17 hours. Embarrassing anecdotes accumulate. A military truck in the Gobi Desert colliding with the only tree in sight, a missile collapsing like a balloon after fuel was pumped into the wrong valve. The Blue Army, designed to simulate adversaries, granted superhuman powers to ensure lopsided victories. This manufactured theater serves propaganda, not combat readiness. Soldiers learn that preserving equipment and pleasing superiors matter more than actual fighting capability. Against this backdrop of dysfunction, Vietnam emerges as a subtle yet decisive player in the South China Sea. Unlike the Philippines, which often faces Beijing's aggression head-on, Hanoi pursues a carefully balanced strategy. On one hand, it maintains ideological and economic ties with China, avoiding direct provocation. On the other, it deepens strategic cooperation with the United States, Japan, and increasingly the Philippines. This two-pronged approach allows Vietnam to strengthen its positions in the Spratly Islands while simultaneously aligning with maritime powers. Beijing tolerates Vietnam's island expansions with relative restraint, wary that pushing too hard could drive Hanoi further into Washington's embrace. Yet this very caution exposes Beijing's vulnerability, the fear that Vietnam could serve as the wedge through which maritime coalitions breach China's continental defense line. While foreign policy strains mount, internal politics add further instability. In the days leading up to the fourth plenum of the Chinese Communist Party, Beijing was rocked by 5 shocks. Provincial leadership in Inner Mongolia, Liaoning and Jiangsu, was reshuffled simultaneously, signaling deep distrust of local officials. A prominent general, long considered a protege of Xi Jinping, was abruptly purged by military discipline inspectors. Rumors spread that the Minister of Public Security, one of Xi's closest allies, was gravely ill with throat cancer. Xi himself appeared in public with a noticeable limp, fueling speculation about his health and succession. Finally, a scheduled APEC summit trip was abruptly cancelled, breaking the regime's tradition of meticulous diplomatic planning. Each event on its own might be explained away. Together, they painted a picture of a leadership staggering under pressure, vulnerable, at the very moment it sought to project unity. As these internal crises unfold, the global balance of power shifts. The United States has entered an industrial defense resurgence, fueled by secret agreements with Russia and Saudi Arabia. Moscow pledged to supply 2 million tons of high-grade aluminium and rare earths to Washington at steep discounts, undermining Chinese role as a key supplier. Riyadh offered energy deals that lower American industrial costs. With raw materials secured, U.S. shipyards and aerospace firms anticipate accelerated production cycles. Technologies that once required a decade to mature, hypersonic systems, advanced composites, AI-driven command platforms, could now emerge in 2 to 3 years. If this trajectory holds, Beijing's narrow window of parity will close swiftly, leaving China outmatched on every front. Amid these developments, China's military parades and aggressive maneuvers resemble political theater more than genuine preparation. The irony is stark. Xi Jinping has invested unprecedented resources into building a world-class military capable of winning wars, yet the deeper reality is one of fragility, dysfunction, and growing vulnerability. The narrative of strength hides an apparatus consumed by corruption, weighed down by bureaucracy, and undermined by technical inferiority. The South China Sea, Taiwan Straits, and East China Sea will continue to witness Chinese shows of force. But behind the roaring jets and gleaming warships lies a far weaker truth. Submarines worth billions are compromised by their own noise. Scientists entrusted with secrets betray them over gambling debts. Soldiers train under conditions where bureaucracy outweighs survival, and political leadership, shaken by health concerns and power struggles, cling to authority even as legitimacy erodes. The real question is not whether China will surpass the United States militarily. It is whether Beijing can sustain its own bloated and brittle system long enough to avoid collapse from within. Every submarine accident, every espionage scandal, every political purge chips away at the illusion of strength. What remains is a military dream built on sand, vulnerable to the tide of reality that grows stronger with each passing year.
I'm 37 years old. After I shared my dating requirements, no one wanted to introduce me to anyone anymore. Are my standards really that high? I only asked for a dowry of 180,000 yuan, which is normal in the South. A man earning at least 20,000 yuan a month. No in-laws living with us, since I plan to bring my own parents. He should hand over his salary card to me, be over 180 centimeters tall, and under 40. Then someone said, "You're already 37 and you still have so many conditions?" Young girls in their 20s are everywhere. Men always pick younger and prettier ones. Be more self-aware. I realize many daughters have become their mother's wishing wells. My mom wants a man who can give me a dowry of 28,000 yuan, buy me a house and a car, and even buy her a house and a car too. His family must be happy, wealthy, and generous to both of us. He can't have brothers, but sisters are fine. But the truth is my family is just ordinary, and even in debt. One man said bluntly, "You expect me to marry an older woman like that? I'd rather stay single forever." He listed 4 reasons. First, women in their 30s are too demanding. If they're still single, they've probably turned down many suitors. Second, most don't have a princess fate, yet suffer from princess disease, always wanting more. Third, they expect men to give endlessly. Fourth, they're close to menopause, emotional, unstable, quick to anger, and easily break up. At matchmaking corners in Chengdu, Hangzhou, and Nanjing, you see crowds of women but few men. In Shanghai, the gender ratio has reached 1 to 9, 9 women chasing 1 man. Earlier this year, Chengdu's People's Park had to post a notice. Female registration full, temporarily suspended. Now I finally understand why Shenzhen is called the city of leftover women. Many women here have sky-high standards. He must be over 1.7 meters tall, not smoke, not drink, not gamble, own a house and a car, and earn hundreds of thousands a year. Such men exist, but they're already married. Of course, everyone can set their own standards, but they must be realistic. If you're average yet dream of a tall, rich, and handsome man, why would he choose you? A 33-year-old blogger in Beijing said her parents want her to marry a man who'll live with them as a son-in-law. But such men are rare. When she stayed single, her parents changed course. They no longer wanted someone rich, but someone with no house, no car, and no savings. The poorer, the better, her mom said. They even preferred a divorced man with a child. So if their daughter couldn't have children, at least she'd still have someone to rely on. In Shenzhen, Matchmaker Yang Zijie once helped a 39-year-old teacher born in 1986. She earned 200,000 yuan a year, owned a house and a car, and had retired parents with no burden. She wanted an unmarried man of equal status. The matchmaker advised her to lower her expectations, but she refused. His income didn't have to exceed hers, but it couldn't be much lower either. His house and car must be fully paid off, no loans after marriage. The matchmaker asked, "Do you really think a man like that, 38 to 40, unmarried with a house and car fully paid off, would choose you? If he's that perfect, why is he still single? And even if he exists, why would he pick you over a 25-year-old?" The woman paused. Maybe when he was younger, he refused to settle, just like me. But now, would he really lower his standards for a 38-year-old woman? If you want marriage and children, the matchmaker said, focus on character, looks, and emotional connection. Don't expect too much financially, but if material comfort is your goal, open your mind. Maybe consider a stable, divorced man with a child, because younger women usually won't. Then one morning I saw something shocking online. A man born in 1908 in Taiwan, earning only 30,000 to 50,000 yuan a year, with no house, no car, no savings, demanding a wife with a master's degree, over 1 million yuan in liquid assets, and an 800,000 yuan dowry to support his two younger brothers, 300,000 each. In Shenyang, matchmaker Tang Tang met another single woman born in 1986, 39 years old, still searching for love. She confessed that watching all her friends build families made her feel painfully lonely. Her biggest wish now is to have a child before turning 40. When listing her dating requirements, the matchmaker gently warned her to lower her standards. Otherwise, finding a partner would be nearly impossible. But she insisted her expectations weren't high. In Shenyang, she just wanted a man over 1.75 meters tall, who owned a house and car outright, and earned at least 200,000 yuan a year, the same as her. The matchmaker sighed. A man like that would be top tier anywhere. But you're 39, your looks, career, and energy are already declining. Why would such a man choose you over a woman in her 20s? She explained that a woman's value peaks in her 20s, while a man's golden years come later. When he finally has a house, a car, and money in the bank, finding love becomes easy. She added, so many girls earning just 3,000 or 6,000 yuan a month dream of marrying men who make 80,000 or even 100,000. They've read too many CEO romance novels and think they're the heroine. But unless you look like Liu Yifei, that's not reality. We're just ordinary people. You can't expect me to conjure a rich man out of thin air. I'm a matchmaker, not a magician. If you don't change this mindset, how will you ever find someone? Another woman born in 1988, a hotel receptionist, said, I don't need a house or a car. I just want a 300,000 yuan dowry transferred to my account. Her boyfriend, a PhD from a rural area near Qingdao, agreed. He promised to buy a house and a car after marriage. She reluctantly accepted, but he had two conditions. If they divorced within 5 years, she must return half the dowry, and she must send 2,000 yuan every month to his parents, who had no pension and had sacrificed everything for his education. The woman wasn't happy. She calculated that over 10 years, she'd end up returning the entire dowry through those monthly payments. Some netizens commented that supporting parents is right, but the amount should depend on income. If a couple earns well, 2,000 yuan a month is fine. But if they buy a home, have a child, or face job loss, the amount should be flexible. And surely parents would understand. When asked about dowries in Jiangxi, one woman said, I can't accept too much, but giving nothing isn't right either. A dowry shows sincerity, but it shouldn't destroy a man's family. Love should come first, and respect from his family matters most. Around 100,000 yuan feels fair. People began asking why so many women in their 30s remain single, while older men can still find partners easily. The answer was simple. Older bachelors only care about youth and in beauty. One of the two is enough. But older single women expect men to have everything: money, property, a stable job, height, good looks. well-educated parents, and at least a bachelor's degree. Some men joked, "Why would I marry another ancestor to serve at home when I barely have time to honor my own parents?" A teacher born in 1998 from Zhanjiang said she only wanted a kind, honest man who didn't smoke, gamble, or live a messy life. Yet people laughed, saying she was making a wish. Others joked, "If it doesn't work out, I'll just marry a rich man." But wealthy men aren't fools. In Chengdu, men with assets over 10 million yuan usually look for women who are beautiful, educated, and from cultured, middle-class families, not just anyone with a pretty face. In Shanghai, over 1 million women remain single, including 400,000 over the age of 35. Most aren't locals. They earn enough to live comfortably, but can't afford property. They've dated good men, but never settled, and still hope for a high standard of life. It's an awkward age. Successful men don't choose women over 35, and ordinary men think they're out of reach. According to the Shanghai Population Development Report, there are now 2.09 million unmarried women in the city. Among women aged 25 to 34, 41% are still single. The average age of marriage has risen to 30. Every morning at 8:30, office towers are filled with women in high heels, coffee in hand, focused and confident. At night, they unwind in concert halls in Lujiazui or sweat through yoga classes. One woman earning 30,000 yuan a month calculated that 30% of her income goes to fitness, travel, balm, and art exhibitions. To her, marriage means sharing space, compromising on food and habits, and spending weekends raising kids, all of which demand time, money, and energy. So rather than being left behind, many of these women are choosing to stay single, not because they can't find love, but because they'd rather live freely than settle for less.
This year, countless business owners have gone bankrupt, and suicides are skyrocketing. Honestly, if things continue like this, China is heading straight for collapse. Ordinary citizens are barely surviving. College students are now delivering food, often exhausted to the point of death. In Nanjing, fatalities this year have hit alarming levels. September has been historically grim. Business owners feel the sky has fallen. Don't think it's just your business. Everyone is struggling. People's lives have deteriorated to unimaginable levels. In many areas, society is in total breakdown. People can't survive and are forced to give up. Many return home for the holidays because there's no other choice. Even delivering food now comes with taxes. Starting October 1st, anyone earning over 6,250 yuan will have taxes automatically withheld by platforms. There's no way around it. Business has collapsed so rapidly, it feels like everyone disappeared overnight. Even in first-tier cities like Shanghai, streets are eerily empty as October approaches. The situation is terrifying. In a few years, even finding work for ordinary people will be nearly impossible. I went to an interview today and broke down crying in the restroom. Some have ended up homeless with no options. I managed to find a catering job that provides food and lodging just to survive, but fear and uncertainty are overwhelming. I graduated in 2024 and have been at home for 6 months, sending nearly 200 job applications, most ignored or offering only 1,500 yuan internships. Despite my experience, I can't find a job or even a place to live. Beijing's employment environment is brutal, especially for those over 30, and catastrophic for those over 35. It's not a matter of ability. Often we're not even given a chance. The contradiction is obvious. The government wants us to work until 65, yet companies refuse to hire anyone in their 30s. Even people with master's or doctoral degrees can't find work. Many can't survive 6 months, let alone live a normal life. Families struggle just to put food on the table. Ordinary citizens can't afford medical care, housing, education, weddings, or raising children. Everywhere, money is scarce. Companies, institutions, bosses, employees, all are financially strained. China's economy is collapsing on all fronts. Industries are in depression. Foreign investment is fleeing. Factories are closing. Physical stores are shutting down. College graduates, masters, and doctoral students are delivering food because there are no jobs. Ordinary citizens can't pay mortgages, defaults are rising, and trust in the system is collapsing. Increasing numbers of people can't even afford food, ending up homeless, sleeping in parks or under bridges, facing life or death survival crises. Meanwhile, state media claims prosperity. Only by looking closely can people see the grim reality under the government's control. I'm the only one working like a beast, yet the patent is mine. This test is bound to lose money. A crew member cleans nearby. I've been in clothing for over 10 years and never seen a September this bad. September gold, October silver, November gold. Where are the customers now? No one is in the stores, no purchasing power. Business is dying. Today is September 21st. Guangzhou's streets are silent, streets that should be bustling. Without competition, nothing moves. Bosses, September is almost over. How's your business? It feels like a cruel joke. There's no peak season this year, only a never-ending off-season. I don't know how much longer I can survive. Even ice bars aren't selling. Everything is so expensive I don't dare restock. Prices for each item are 1 or 2 yuan. Once this batch is gone, I won't replenish. Look, entire streets are deserted. Before, they said there were gaps in the area. Now all parking spaces are empty. What's wrong with September? How can business be this dead? Every day we make only a few hundred yuan, never 1,000. Only one day this month did we exceed 2,000. In all my years, I've never seen September this poor. Sister Tang said she once sold 1,000 yuan, but even that's rare now. You're saying you don't want this location anymore? I don't want it either. Even losing the deposit doesn't matter. I've given up hope. Rent and utilities alone eat 17 to 18,000 yuan a month. Stock piles up unsold. I can't understand how business can be this bad. The streets are full of delivery riders, couriers, and errand runners, but no customers. It's surreal. Yesterday, I didn't even open. Today, at this hour, the store is still closed. Neighbors are debating whether to pay rent. Is September always like this? I saw a job seeker comment. This year's hiring market is brutal. Those looking for work can't find jobs, and employers can't find staff. If you fried fries but didn't do it continuously, your experience doesn't count. Over 35? Forget it. McDonald's wants someone from KFC. KFC wants someone from Dicos. Matching experience is everything. They even prefer males who can make egg tarts, fry snacks, prepare kids' meals, and sing birthday songs. 2 years ago, I already sensed this, but it's gotten worse every year. It's tragic. How can anyone survive? An 87-year-old man is still selling vegetables. He has no choice. He works just to spend. Older workers aren't needed anymore. Clothes are worn out, even torn inside. No money. A few days ago, a company contacted me to hire an accounting assistant for 1,500 yuan a month, no meals or lodging. Rent 800 yuan, utilities at least 150, even eating 2 instant noodles a day costs over 300. After expenses, 1,500 yuan isn't enough to survive. This isn't working. It's paying to work. I asked HR if the salary could be increased. They said, fresh graduates should be grateful to have a job. If you don't want it, plenty will. When do we retire? Work until you can't, then retire. On September 28th, the National Bureau of Statistics released a report claiming China had 857.98 million people, aged 16-59, 60.9% of the population. Mainland cultural worker Mr. Long said these numbers are for show, deceiving domestic people into thinking China's economy is strong and giving foreign investors false confidence. Industrial growth, military, economy, politics, culture, everything is unreliable, everything is fake. Even graduate employment numbers have stopped being published. This is an evil regime. This is an unreliable regime. Filthy, shameless, beyond words. Nobody cares what you eat or drink, but if you speak, they care. If you listen, they care. If you feel, they care. Even when you share your happiness, someone pays attention. Yesterday, I worked 12 hours and was exhausted. If there's a next life, I would never let anyone force me to climb this high again. Life is too hard. I'm hungry. Honestly, I keep working because if I don't, I won't even have food. Farmers cannot change their fate. In the 21st century, Hard work barely feeds us. As long as I can survive, it's enough. But life is unbearably difficult. I have a 3-year-old child at home who can't feed himself. I must feed him. Next life, if I can choose, I would never come here. It's too exhausting. Everyone is forced to go to the construction site. I don't even know what happiness means anymore. I started working at 15, doing backbreaking labor, always exhausted. At Zhonghua Garden, 80% of the people are young workers like me, drained, desperate, broke. At first, the cost of living seems low, but every day it adds up. A typical day costs at least 50 yuan, and when you run out, you're forced to take night shifts just to survive. Night shifts in Kunshan pay 10-15 yuan per hour, slightly more in logistics, but it's literally risking your life for money. Most people can't handle it. Here's a real story. An older sister stayed at the animation park for months. With no money and no one to borrow from, she had to take day shifts, 12 hours for about 140 yuan. Night shifts were slightly easier, allowing secret phone use. Meals were included, but conditions were so harsh, even a dog would shake its head. Yet she signed up anyway. The first shift was full, the second, they counted faces, and she still didn't get in. 12-hour shifts for 140 yuan. Who would choose this life? I'm from a small county in Shanxi. I started working in 2014. Over 11 years, my salary went from 1,000 yuan to barely 2,300 yuan. Not from ambition, just from changing jobs. Had I stayed, I'd still make 1,000 yuan. Many local public kindergarten teachers live like this, earning only 1,300–1,400 yuan after insurance. Life in small towns is harsh. Only civil servants escape it. The rest just survive. Daily work wears you down. My body suffered just to go to class every day. The People's Daily says we shouldn't lie flat, but I've been lying flat at home for nearly 2 months. I graduated from Shenzhen University 7 years ago, and now, unemployed. My last job, a school dorm supervisor, paid just over 3,000 yuan per month after social insurance. A year passed. I saved nothing. Expenses consumed everything. Transportation, food, social needs, nothing left. I had no choice but to resign and lie flat. At home now, my costs are low. No mortgage, no car loan, no children. Hardship surrounds everyone. People wait hours for work, exhausted, hoping to survive. Many say, we are supervisors, we don't fear hardship. But the truth is undeniable. Through bypassing the firewall, Chinese citizens see the CCP's corruption firsthand. Economic depression stems from this corruption. Many now formally renounce CCP organizations. A mainland citizen using the name Zhongyuan Kaiyun says, today's domestic market is bleak. Supermarkets are empty. Ordinary people are struggling, and it's all tied to CCP corruption. Believing in karma, he also renounces CCP organizations.